right. Hi, everybody. I'm Kristine Mayle. I'm the Financial Secretary of the Chicago Teachers Union. I want to give you a little bit of an update on what is going on in terms of bargaining. We've been on the news a whole bunch lately, and it hasn't been very clear what's going on, so I want to clarify some things. The big thing that I keep getting asked everywhere is, have we settled our contract? No, we have not. We're not even close. We have a whole bunch of open items. What we did settle was a longer day proposal. Under the law, we are not able to bargain on the length of the day. So we were just at the mayor's will on that. And he decided that he wanted to extend the day to 7 hours and 40 minutes, which was ridiculously long. It was too long for our kids. It was too long for our teachers. So we fought it back. And they actually came to us with wanting us to come to some sort of an agreement over it. Even though they didn't have to negotiate with us on it, they ended up negotiating with us on it because they wanted school to start actually today for our Track E students on time. So it was a big win because we weren't supposed to be able to bargain over it, and we ended up doing it. Our elementary school teachers finally get lunch again. For a very long time, we did not have lunch. Contrary to popular belief, we did not have the shortest day in the country. What we did was we had our lunch at the end of the day. So elementary school teachers would get a 20-minute break, which was our 2 10-minute breaks by state law if you work a certain amount of hours. That is what we used as our lunch break. We called it a lunch, but it wasn't actually a lunch. So that's why they thought we had a shorter day. The other factor of the shorter day is that our students don't get art and music and PE and all the things that the kids in other parts of the city, the suburbs, everywhere else get. And so it makes our day look shorter because all we're doing is reading math, science, and social studies. And so that's shortened our day. So part of the agreement that we had was to hire more teachers in those specific areas. So we're going to move our lunch to the middle of the day so that the day appears longer. But the big win is that we have about 600 teachers that are being hired to teach art, music, technology, all the things that our kids have been missing. Did we get enough positions to cover all of them? No. Is it perfect? No. There's a lot of problems coming out of the schools. We're hearing issues with principals that haven't staffed it correctly. But it's a work in progress. And the big part that we got out of it was that those hires, if our displaced teachers applied for those jobs, they had to hire them in, which is huge. We haven't had a real recall of any sort in 17 years, and so this is our first step in the door of getting some sort of a recall right. So teachers that were laid off as far back as 2010, as long as 3 of them applied at a school, they have to hire one of those teachers, which is a huge win for our people. In general, we still have everything else open on the table. The longer day is kind of settled, but they still have to talk to us about the longer year. Some days that used to be professional development days where teachers would go and get their work done and plan for the year, and that time is so valuable to us, collaborate with the other teachers, they switch those into student attendance days. So we're actually missing some of our professional development time. I don't know how we're supposed to raise the craft of teaching if we have less time to collaborate. So that's still open. That's another one of those things that we can't bargain over, but we might be able to see some movement. Also on the table, we have merit pay. This is their big scheme. They want to, in the original offer, they offered us a 2% raise for the first couple years, and then it would freeze as we tried to work out a merit pay scheme. We are completely against this. It goes against everything that's good in teaching. If you're competing based on your test scores, you're not truly teaching the kids the way they need to be taught. It fosters competition rather than collaboration in the classroom, which is the worst thing you can do in a classroom. Kids do better if teachers get time to work together and collaborate and work for the good of the child. A merit pay system would set us up so that we would be competing against our neighbors. And it's still on the table. They're still pushing for it. We are fighting back hard on that. I don't see any way that we could actually give in to that demand. There's also, in the process of all this other stuff, they've changed our teacher evaluation system. This dates back to a state law that went into effect a couple years ago, or it was passed a couple years ago. It applies to the whole state of Illinois, but like most things, Chicago is the guinea pig, so it goes into effect for us this year, but other school districts, it won't start until 2014 or later. And so we're supposed to work out a fair way to evaluate teacher performance, but again, it incorporates test scores into it. So I'm a special education teacher. I don't know how you grade my performance as a teacher on my students' test scores because they're in my class because they don't test well and they have difficulties. Same with our art teachers. How do you grade an art teacher on a standardized test? So the original proposal that the board gave us would be that eventually 40% of our teacher evaluation ratings would be based on student test scores. We're in the process of negotiating that. We're actually going to be talking about it a little bit this week. We haven't come to any real conclusions on that. We've been meeting with them for the past 6 months or so on that, and we've had a committee of our members and a committee of their non-educators discussing what the best way to do this would be. We've had some good suggestions. They've had some suggestions, and we're going to try to come somewhere in the middle. Again, it's state law, so there's only certain aspects of it we can bargain over. But it's just one more pressure that they're adding to us this year. And the big thing that we're fighting for is the better day. And we have this report. You can find it on our website. We have some hard copies also. Basically, it lays out all the things that our schools are lacking that we want and that we need for our students. One example is our social workers. The level of social workers, the staffing level of social workers that we have is the same as from 1960. So our schools have grown and grown and grown, but we have the same number of social workers that we had in 1960. Same thing for our school psychologists, all those things that they've been understaffing us. The majority of our schools don't have nurses full-time in their buildings. A kid falls down and cracks his skull open, you get the little Ziploc baggie with ice cubes in it, and that's what you get instead of a nurse in Chicago Public Schools. We don't think that's fair to our students. We don't think that's fair to our nurses that have to work twice as hard to service twice as many kids. So that's another thing that we're fighting for. We have some actions coming up. Labor Day, we're going to be doing a rally. We would actually love to have an endorsement from you. The CFL typically does one, but they're going to be down at the DNC, so we've taken it over. We're going to be sponsoring it with a bunch of other unions. It's going to be 10:30 to 12 at Daly Plaza. We're going to have some speakers, some music, family-friendly, and then we're going to do an action at City Hall. The other thing we're excited about is the Teacher Solidarity Campaign, which we spoke about a little bit earlier. There's a town hall meeting that's coming up Wednesday the 29th, talking about what individuals in the city can do to help support us in this campaign. Town hall is at the Chicago Temple, which is 77 West Washington, at 6:30 on Wednesday the 29th of August. I've spoken to a couple people around here. This is the fight of the year. It really is. We've been recognized from other countries. People have sent us letters of solidarity. Teachers from across the country understand that this is ground zero. The merit pay, all these things that they're trying to push on all of us, if we don't stand up, it's going to work its way throughout the country. So the next big question that everybody's asking is, are you going on strike? I don't know. It's a good question. Some days I say the chances are 40-60. Some days I say it's 50-50. Other days it's 60-40. It all depends on how bargaining's going that day. We do have authorization from our membership. We had an amazing vote a couple months ago that people probably know about, but the background of that is that they changed the state law to require us to have 75% of our membership to authorize a strike. So we went out and got 90%, which was pretty impressive. So in 3 days, we got 90% of our members to vote, almost 91%, and of that 91%, 98% of them said yes to vote to authorize a strike. So where we stand now is we have a couple more days until we reach the end of our cooling off period that was given to us by the fact finding. After that, we have to give a 10-day notice, and then at any point after that, we can go out on strike. It'll be authorized by our House of Delegates. We'll have a meeting with them, and they have to set the date. Right now, we have a House meeting scheduled for a couple weeks from now, but we're not sure. We have a lot of bargaining to do still. We're scheduled for bargaining pretty much every day for the next 3 weeks through Labor Day. I don't know if we're even going to make it to the Labor Day rally because I feel we'll be locked in a room with the Board of Education trying to come to a last-minute decision. But there's a lot going on. I'd be happy to answer questions. I know people have a ton of questions. It's ever-changing and flowing. We are making some progress. I mean, not everything is bad, but we are still very far from an agreement.